Yeah, let's get into the decade teams, and we're going to start from the 80s. But I'm going to flip it so we can get David Norman Jr.'s selection first. We'll start with the most current crop, the 2010s. Top five players you put on this all-decade team.
Top five. So first one is Atiba Hutchinson, and I think he
Yeah.
should. I think, to be honest, he should top any list
I
for.
think he's in my decade. He's in my
He's-
decade, actually, but I'll give him to you.
Yeah, he's probably crossed a couple decades, but no, he's been
I
unbelievable.
crossed it off. I have backups. Don't worry.
Okay, all right. For both club and country, he's been fantastic. For me, being a center midfielder, watching him and seeing what he does has been brilliant. I went with Scott Arfield, which might be a bit important just as a Rangers man. But I think since
Yeah.
he's chosen to play for Canada in the last 4.5, 5 years, he's been brilliant for them.
Yep.
I was close. I wanted to get a couple of CPL players in there. I was close to saying my good mates Marcel De Jong and David Edgar. So they'll be mad I left them off it. But I went with actually another goalie, Milian Borjan.
Yeah.
I think again for club and countries, he's been fantastic. He's been our number one for a while.
Yeah, unfortunately, he's going to be another one of those guys who have achieved so much in Europe and not really gotten the recognition back here. One, because he didn't play in Major League Soccer, and two, because the national team hasn't achieved much, right? So unfortunately, hopefully they get some. There's still time. He's, 32, but he has to be in your list, in my opinion.
Yeah. And then the last two, I went with the future and Alfonso Davies and Jonathan David. I thought I had to throw them in there, even though it's only been for I think since the 2017 Gold Cup is when Alfonso broke out, and Johnny was just after that. But you look at Jonathan David, he's I think scored a goal in every game or close to it, pretty much that he's played for our country. And
Good group.
Good list.
Yeah.
All right, where are we going? Mine?
You're next, Kurt. Yeah.
Okay, this is where I disagree with Senior a little bit because he thinks the current group is the best national team that they've had since, I guess, making the World Cup. I actually disagree. I think I'm shocked when I looked at the players of the 2000s and the quality of player that Canada had, and to not reach greater heights. And yes, they were screwed in one Gold Cup, but to not do more than that one Gold Cup, it's a bit surprising. I'm crossing Atiba Hutchinson off my list because we'll give him to Junior because I'm a nice guy.
Yeah.
But Dwayne De Rosario has to be on your list if you're making a team of the 2000s. I don't think anyone can disagree with that. No one can disagree with Julian de Guzman. Nobody can disagree with Paul Stalteri. Then we started to get into the debatable ones. So the first debatable one I have on there is Kevin McKenna. So I'd be interested to know if anyone has any disputes with Kevin McKenna.
No, I put McKenna on that list.
Okay. Then then I got to pick from my three honorable mentions because Junior stole Atiba. So my three honorable mentions were Jim Brennan, Jason DeVos, and Lars Hirschfeld. And I'm going to go with Jim Brennan because I don't want him calling me or emailing me because I keep on leaving him off lists. I think I've made we made a few of these lists now, and I keep on leaving Jim Brennan off. So Jim Brennan's on my all 2000s team.
You probably hear about
don't think Devos is going to call?
Yeah, exactly.
Diva, he's a little quieter now that he's up with the national team and that setup, right? So he's yeah. But he'll hold it against me. I'll hear like 10 years from now somewhere, or we cross paths in Oakville or something, and I'm told that I left him off the list.
Like Brennan will let you know too.
I'd have to say from a of those three, I would have to pick Jason, both from a national standpoint and from his club football as well.
You don't want to receive a call from Jim Brennan. I'm telling you, this is why.
I think you're going to get a call from him regardless. He's only in your squad because Hutchinson got called up.
That's true. Hey, but if you're number 6 on my list of 5 and those guys are in front of you, I don't think you can complain too much.
All right. Let's get into the 90s then. Craig Forrest, number 1. I don't think you can argue that. So Forrest gets into my lineup. Mark Watson in as well. Then I've got this stuff. Then I got Paul Pesky-Solido, Alex Bunbury, and Nick Dasovic.
Whoa.
So
hang on.
Those are the 5 I've got. Honorable mentions to Frank Yallop, Carlo Corzine, Catliff, Leonard Hooper, Dominic Mobilio, just on a personal level. I thought it was really influential in the 90s. So yeah, that's my list. The five, I feel pretty strong about those five.
Yeah, I got to be honest. It's hard for me to weigh in because I was born in '86, so I really started watching international football like in the mid to late '90s. So your list sounds great, Asa.
Thank you. No,
I'm the same there. I only had 2 years in the 90s, so.
what about senior? Do I get what kind of grade do I get on this? The top five?
I literally am going with an A+ on that top five.
Oh, beauty. Love it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Who do you have in the 80s? 80s is pretty tough.
80s
That's
is
a good
easy
group.
when you're my age. 80s is really easy. I could have done 70s if you wanted.
So who do
So
you
I'm gonna
have?
go
How
with-
do you whittle it down to five though?
I'm gonna go with my honorable mention first.
Okay.
Okay. Ian Bridge and Randy Samuel would be honorable mention. Center backs in our World Cup team and through much of that time. And arguably, there may have been some better center backs since then, but arguably the best duo center back that we've ever seen for Canada. And we could maybe use them right now. I'm not sure.
Yeah, Randy'd be great.
Yeah. Carl Valentine and Mike Sweeney, another two players, I would have to say. And then the two goalies in our World Cup squad, Tino Lettieri and Paul Dolan. They would be on my honorable mentions list.
Just name the whole squad then.
What's that?
Might as well just name the whole squad.
Well, no,
Trying to
I
name it on you,
let
saying-
myself off, so that was okay. So from 5 to 1, number 5, Bob Lenarduzzi. I think what his impact in soccer, in winning the soccer bowl, and I know it's 79 in the 70s, but then beyond that in club football, and also as a manager and as a founder basically of the Vancouver Whitecaps, 86ers moving to Whitecaps, what he's done for our country and what he both as a player and as an owner and manager has been incredible. And he was a very good defender and a very good player getting forward. He's almost at the edge of those fullbacks getting forward and really getting involved in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Number 4 was Jerry Gray, highly skilled and tough tackling midfielder. Was a player for me, not unlike Jonathan Osorio, could score goals, would get in good positions, good number 8, up and down the pitch. And of course, born in Glasgow, him and I hit it off right from the get-go. Number 3 is Wes McLeod, so a player very, underappreciated. I looked up a couple of his stats today. 6 times in a row on NASL's North American All-Star team that did start in the 70s, but went through the 80s, played for New York Cosmos, played for Indoor in Dallas, I believe it was, and just had an incredible career.
Mm-hmm.
Again, almost too skillful for our national team to only pick up 17 caps. And if I had to say to some of our younger listeners today and watchers today, I would say he was a David Silva type player.
Wow.
Wore the tassels on his socks, had a flair about him, and would be great if we could had other Canadian players develop like him. Number 2 for me is Bruce Wilson, our captain and leader. Probably could nip him into the 70s again as well. Much of his career was there. But fantastic leader, fantastic left back, unbelievably fit for his age when we hit the World Cup, and a great player. But my number 1 player for the 1980s would be Dale Mitchell. Dale had it all. He could play as a number 9, could play as a number 10, could play wide, so a very attacking player, could play as a number 8. In indoors specifically, Dale scored goals for fun, scored a lot outdoors as well, but scored for fun. Came off if I remember, a knee injury as going into the World Cup, so didn't start there and play as much as we probably should have had him. Could pick out a pass. He was incredible. And the other thing, he was from East Van. You're going to like him, Asa. He was from East Vancouver.
Love it.
As nails, and would not take any stick at all. In fact, dish it out. So that's my number 1 player from the 1980s.